Well, you must have heard about this Mike Tyson tattoo and the Hangover movie that's currently out. And here to talk about it have two attorneys, Bill Curran, who you should immediately recognize if you've been in Las Vegas 5 years or more. Here's one of the most prestigious and most well-respected attorneys in Las Vegas.
You're too kind.
Former Gaming Commission chairman as well. And Corey Fields, who is, well, you guys are related. You're both part of the same law firm, but you live in Los Angeles and do entertainment work. And we're going to talk about this Mike Tyson tattoo in a minute. But I just wanted, but you work in, and Bill, I mean, you've been here for what, 35 years or more?
Right.
And, you know, you started in DA's office, things like that, and, you know, small little law firm, one or two guys. Now all of a sudden you have this huge law firm you belong to.
Well, Las Vegas changed, and my partners and I tried to hold out against the tide of change as long as we could, because we enjoyed the small environment and we were successful. But as we could see, Las Vegas was really transforming to a major city and playing on the national stage. We realized that we either had to step up and join part of a national platform, or we were going to have to recede to a much lower level of practice. So 5 years ago we did that. We joined a national firm. We have 13 offices. The firm's 135 years old. One of the biggest known names back in the Mid-Atlantic area, based in Philadelphia. And our lawyers work with each other all over the country. I work with Corey down in Los Angeles frequently on entertainment and copyright types of issues, and other lawyers in other parts of the country in specialized matters that we don't really have the expertise to handle here locally, but our clients need the top expertise they can get in the country.
Yeah, but I guess with 535 lawyers, you can find somebody that's an expert in anything, right?
Just about anything.
Yeah. This Mike Tyson case has gotten so much publicity. Why don't you talk about what is the background? I mean, he has a tattoo. I mean, what is the story here?
In 2003, Mike Tyson, former world heavyweight champion, walks into a Las Vegas tattoo parlor and decides to get this fierce tribal warrior tattoo right on the side of his head.
Okay, and so we're looking at the tattoo now. When you say fierce warrior tribal tattoo, is that not an original design?
You know, that's a big issue in the case right now, where the tattoo artist claims that that's an original design that he created. He got a copyright registration. As far as the tattoo artist is concerned, this is right there on the same level as the Mona Lisa. It's original artwork. He has sued Warner Entertainment, Warner Brothers Pictures, who made The Hangover, I guess, Part 1 and Part 2. And he claims that their use of his artwork in the film is a copyright infringement. And this caught everyone at Warner by surprise. According to the court papers, they had done the first version of the film, had never heard from the tattoo artist. Mike Tyson was out there in the world. He was doing other films. He licensed action figures that showed him and the tattoo. And apparently, from what we've seen in the court papers in this case, which is actually happening in St. Louis, no one thought that this tattoo was going to be an issue because it had been out there. No one had heard from the artist. All of a sudden, the artist comes forward a month before the release of Hangover Part 2. Hangover Part 1 was one of the most successful box office comedies ever. And the artist says, "You've never heard of me, but guess what? I did this tattoo back in 2003. I own the copyright, and I intend to stop your picture from being released." So it was a pretty dramatic David versus Goliath confrontation in the federal court.
Well, you know, on one hand, I can kind of see this. If it was not Mike Tyson's face, but a canvas, then there would be no question that, assuming it's an original piece of art, that this man who is artist owned it. But when you put something on a face, how does it change those dynamics?
Well, that's one of the big issues that no one knows the answer to. There is no law specifically telling us what happens when you put an original work of art. As you say, if it's on a canvas or a piece of paper, that's one thing. You put it on someone's living human body, what does that mean? Can they be a copyright infringer? If I go out right now and get that same tattoo on my head, Does that mean that this tattoo artist can sue me because my head is a copyright infringement? These are very new issues. Courts have never looked at them. The public is very intrigued by it. There's a million sort of side stories here. For example, is it original? We've already heard that the indigenous peoples of New Zealand, the Maori tribes, are claiming that this sort of tribal art actually is thousands of years old. It comes from their culture. And they're, according to press reports, not very happy that an American tattoo artist has claimed to own this. So there's all kinds of issues that are going to come up in the case. Right now, the case is the equivalent of the first inning in a 9-inning baseball game. The court decided they would not stop the movie from being released. It's a huge success. It's done over $100 million in less than the first week. But that's really, this is like, if this were a baseball game, we'd be saying, wow, it's, the score is 4-3 after the first inning. I wonder how this game is going to turn out. There's a long way to go in this case.
If a hairdresser comes up with an original hair design, is that something they can copyright or trademark?
Well, the copyright normally doesn't apply to things that are what they call useful objects. Copyright is supposed to be about a true sort of creative work. A hairstyle, it's going to be difficult to show that a hairstyle is as creative as, you know, a Picasso or something like that. And because it's useful, because it's part of what you do on an everyday basis, there's a bunch of things that you can't copyright. That's one of the big issues in this case. You can't copyright basic symbols and designs. You could never, for example, draw a circle on a piece of paper, send it to the Copyright Office, and become the owner of everything round. There's some things where copyright says, hey, this belongs to everybody. You can't own this. And I think that would apply to a hairstyle. It certainly applies to common symbols. Tattoo artists who do basic stuff like hearts, stars, scrolls, angels, devils, whatever tattoo artists often do, probably most of that stuff isn't copyrightable. And so one of the big issues in the case will be, is that Mike Tyson tattoo original enough to be copyrightable? Did that tattoo artist create it? And by extension, you're probably not going to have hairstyles ever copyrightable and things that are just plain useful that people need to do.
What is your intuition, your legal intuition on how a case like this ends up?
A lot depends on the appetite of the parties to duke it out in court. Obviously, this is like most cases, it could settle. There's an amount of money that will end the case. Both sides, as they say in all settlements, will be equally unhappy. Mm-hmm. That's the classic great settlement for most cases for people. No one's completely thrilled with how they settle a case. If it actually goes all the way, one of the reasons this case is interesting is there's some tremendous uncertainties here. I think that whether this art is original is a huge question mark. I think there's a decent chance that the studio could show that this copyright isn't valid. If they can't do that, then there's other principles in play. There's something called fair use. Like, is it fair in a movie of this length to repeatedly show the tattoo because it's part of a joke, sort of a parody or satire? The judge in the case right now has said she doesn't think that theory works. It's not really a parody. It's just a use of the copyright. You know, it's very hard to have a gut instinct in something like this. You've also got that David and Goliath drama. This is a really hard one to call. It evokes a lot of issues that would surprise people. Can copyright pop up in unexpected places and mess up my life? I hate to sit on the fence, but I think that based on everything we're seeing, there's at least a chance that it won't go that well for the plaintiff. One of the issues is the amount of damages. I mean, when you have a use like this, let's say it was a copyright infringement, you then get a whole long debate over, well, what was it worth? Copyright says that it's the profits attributable to the infringement is the official, legal language. What that means is, how many people buy a ticket for this film because they want to see that tattoo? That's an interesting question. Is the answer 0 people? Is the answer something else? What about all the other uses? There's promotions, tie-ins. 7-Eleven is offering Slurpee cups that have pictures of the characters, and one of them is the character with the tattoo. There's just a lot of issues here. It could go either way. There's, certainly the current judge has shown that she thinks there's a real case here. And in legal cases, even if the artist wins this one, it can go up on appeal. It might be reversed on appeal. There's a lot of ways it could go. The tattoo issue, it would be good to have a ruling on this. It would be good to have courts weigh in on whether a tattoo artist has some sort of claim to someone else's body in some weird way.
If I can just jump in, it's not totally unheard of for copyright claims to be filed involving movies. A flip side to this coin is product placement, where people pay to have their product prominently displayed in the course of a movie because it gives it visibility and sort of glamour and credibility. But a typical copyright claim is more along the line of somebody having a poster on a wall and the characters just move past it and somebody says, I own that poster and nobody is paying me to put that in. You're violating my copyright. Well, courts, I think, have seen that traditionally as sort of a small potatoes kind of a claim, and they haven't given it too much credibility. Those kinds of cases would probably settle out of court for some modest kind of a resolution. But this case is different because you've got one of the most popular movies, I guess one of the most popular comedies of all times. Prospect that the second one is going to be even bigger than the first one, and in this case, the tattoo is sort of a central part to the theme of the movie.
Yeah, it seems that I can remember 30 or more years ago in Las Vegas, as practicing law here, that there was very little copyright, trademark. We essentially had one firm that that did that kind of work here in town, and then as the hotels and the entertainment started to develop, it seems like Las Vegas has really become a a major hub for these kind of issues. The tattoo artists living here being just one. That what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I mean, that was a big issue. Also, there's been I guess we're working on some cases with the Blue Man Group and some other acts in town, right? Things are different here today.
Things have changed very profoundly, and there's a reason why so many big national firms have moved to Las Vegas. Population-wise, we're not the kind of place that the big national and international firms would necessarily target, but because there's so much activity and so much cutting-edge kinds of things, I think lots of big firms have determined that it's important for them to have a presence here. That's certainly why our firm came here.